Hi guys, it's Lesley Tao here. Now I've got a very special video for you today. Today we're going to talk about, from personal experience, how to avoid these 3 costly mistakes that I made in property. Now guys, the number 1 biggest mistake that I've ever made in property was I got scammed in Dubai. Now what it was that I had invested in, I bought basically 4 properties and I was going to buy my 5th one, which was an off-plan hotel in an area called Jumeirah Lake Towers in Dubai. And for those of you who are familiar with Dubai, it's parallel to the marina and JBR. So it's quite it's a free zone area as well. So it's quite up and coming, it was cool. And I went to see the place, I did my due diligence, and I basically put down in cash the monies that I needed to secure it because it was off plan. Now, the reason why I got scammed is because I had made all my installments up to date, but the project was getting delayed, and it was getting delayed so much that it caused a lot of concern. And what I found out from basically harassing and bombarding the agent and the developer was that the developer's son, so the development company was owned by, I believe, a Bahraini family, and the son of the family had basically touched the funds that was supposed to be in an escrow account. So what an escrow account is, it's a protected account designated by law for development funds only, and therefore those funds should only be used towards the development in phases. Now, obviously in this case, I found out that the funds weren't protected, and it was just very frustrating, and it just felt awful to be conned from your monies, and even more awful because I had raised those monies for a joint venture from family and friends, and as well as my own money. So it just felt awful because I thought that I had lost all of it, and I didn't really know how to tell them. It felt incredibly shameful. However, this is what I learned. So what did I do next? I basically had to go back and negotiate the how to get the money back. So what I did was, and this is me in a fairly very male-dominated industry, in a slightly third world but glitz and glamoury country, and I didn't know how to speak Arabic, and a developer representative were all Arabic. So what I did was I took my best friend along, so that's Maha, she's my Sudanese bestie, and she basically helped me negotiate, and we were there trying to negotiate our money back. And in the end, we did get our money back, but less 10%, so it was a great result. And the 10% basically went towards the person in the office who was helping us get a refund. So they wanted commission for their hard work, or whatever you want to call it. So the good thing was we managed to get 90% of the money back, and the 10%, which was given to this guy to reward his hard works for getting our money back, I took that as a loss. And the reason why you want to do that is because the ethical thing to do, and what can make me sleep at night, was to make sure that my family and friends got their money back and they were okay, because they entrusted me with that money. So the lesson to learn from this, guys, is sometimes being scammed is probably unavoidable. And I'm also a lawyer and a litigation one, or I was one. So ultimately, apart from doing your due diligence, you need to be able to problem solve when a problem comes up. So what does that mean? It means ultimately you need to assess when you're basically, my language, left in the shit, of what is the best case scenario. Okay, in our best case scenario, we didn't know, to be honest, it was good that we got a refund. We didn't know we were going to get one. 90% back was more than I was hoping for. I thought it was a complete total loss, but you have to basically put a plan together and at least try your hardest and exhaust every route when you encounter a problem. So I hope that helps. Right, if we go on to number 2, so the second worst property decision that I've ever made was to take on a rent-to-rent property that was in bad condition. So what I mean by bad condition was that it was a student property, but it was left in a bit of a state. Now, the reason why we took on this property is because the location is fantastic, but if you're taking the property on a rent-to-rent, which is also known as a sublease strategy, you don't want to be dumping lots of money in to make the property look good, because you don't own that property. There's only there's a limit to how much you can spend on that property, even if you get quite a long lease, okay? If you own that property, then it would be a different matter. But if you're taking it on a sublease basis, you don't want to be dumping lots and lots of money into that property. Now, that's the only property that I've ever taken on a rent-to-rent basis that didn't work. And we literally flipped 3 different business models, and two of the business models was making money, but it was just too much hassle in the end. So we did SA rental, so serviced accommodation by the entire place, and we basically ran into trouble because it was a 5-bedroom house, and there seemed to be attracting a lot of parties, and I felt really bad for my neighbours. So what we did was then we flipped it back into running it as an HMO. Okay, and that was quite hard because the fact we couldn't upgrade the property properly, in terms of we couldn't put a new kitchen, which is what it needed, and a new bathroom in. Our rents were capped at a certain level, so that didn't really work. So the last business model, which was our exit strategy business model, as we were going to be handing the property back to the landlord, was rental by the room. Now that business model works, but obviously with that business model, the grey area is the planning permitted on that property. And so the biggest lesson I learned from that was, if you're taking on a rent-to-rent property, make sure that it's at a fairly good standard, because the last thing you want to be doing is trying to repair the kitchen or the bathroom. It should be of a fairly good standard, so that ideally a very good standard, so that you just need to give it a bit of a paint and put your furniture in. My third biggest mistake that I've ever made in my property investment journey was to take a property on, as in go in and start decorating before the tenants have moved out. Now, the reason for that is because we literally had a 4-day turnaround on this particular property, and unfortunately we had a tenant who just didn't want to leave, or the landlord had a tenant that just didn't want to leave. But the only thing to say about that is, even though legally it falls onto the landlord's obligation to remove that tenant, you as the operator are left with the consequences. So it's in your best interest to try and get that tenant out as soon as possible too. So in this particular scenario, what we did to basically help that tenant move her along to her next home, which the landlord had provided to her, was I literally got the removal guy to come. So the removal van came twice in one day to help this lady shift out, and we bear that cost. So sometimes to resolve a problem, you have to put a little bit of money towards helping the other party out, I suppose. So that's the biggest takeaway from that. What I would say, guys, is that if you're looking to get into a technical field such as property, it is good to get some training, some education, and if you need a bit more help, find a mentor. Obviously, I am known for service accommodation and rent-to-rent, so I also have an HMO portfolio, and we run training on this. And my business partner, Trevor Cutmore, he teaches people how to build houses or redevelop them. So that is definitely something you need to get more education in if you're looking to build houses and build long-term cash flowing assets. So do get in touch with us if you want to come on one of our courses, or have a chat with one of our team members, or even myself, if you have an interest in property. So you can reach me in the details provided below. Hope to see you all soon.